Welcome back, Seahawks, to another edition of Seahawk Central News, your source for the latest in local news and entertainment. I'm Anna Phillips.
And I'm Suzuki. This week, we take a look at waterfront living done differently, as well as the self-proclaimed memorial Militia.
We will also be discussing UNCW's Home Movies Day and the end of the Chancellor's Academic Achievement Award. Stay tuned because Seahawk Central News starts right now. Imagine losing your camera full of irreplaceable photos of your family and friends only to have a stranger find and return it several years later. That's exactly what happened to one Wilmington family this past week. Grady Cox found 2 SD memory cards in a local donation box and reached out to WECT to help him find the owners. There were pictures of a graduation, a 100th birthday party, and other family events, and he thought it was important to get the photos to their owners. Indeed, ECT ran a story with some of the photos on air, and the owners were identified. They were able to claim their pictures and are extremely appreciative of the efforts made by complete strangers.
UNCW alumni Annalie Carter is making the school proud this week with the release of her mobile app, Rescue Me, on iTunes. Rescue Me is an application allowing caretakers to store important information, such as medical needs of the children they are taking care of, in addition to providing kids with a simpler way to dial emergency services. Carter, who is an experienced nanny herself, first developed Rescue Me 1 year ago in response to her own concerns about babysitters not having easy access to information affecting the safety of a child. Having successfully released the app on iTunes, Carter is now working with developers to make Rescue Me available on Android devices.
If you're looking for an affordable oceanfront stay, consider camping. The Star News reports that there are several campgrounds in southeastern North Carolina that are still on waterfront property and fairly affordable. From Waterway Campground in Brunswick County to Blackbeard's Treasure Family Campground in Pender County, several options do still exist. Check out the Star News online for more details.
Tuesday, October 14th, the Wilmington City Council held a meeting in consideration of implementing a formal funding application process for city organizations like boards and development groups. The process, which would also include end-of-year reports on what the funded organizations accomplished, is not for the purpose of budget cuts, but rather to ensure the city is spending its money wisely. For the 2013-2014 year, the city has set aside a spending budget of more than $600,000 to be doled out to organizations based on application responses. Matters will include items such as how the agency has a financial impact, how it relates to city priorities, what milestones it will achieve, and its plan to be self-sufficient in 3 years. So far, leaders from various organizations have provided no backlash to the movement, seeming to be in agreement with the city that a formal funding process will validate and make the organizations held more accountable.
Wilmington lost one of its finest this past week. Local philanthropist Betty Cameron passed away on October 8th. Betty was a staple in the community as the namesake of the Betty Cameron Women and Children's Clinic in the New Hanover Regional Medical Center and the director of the Dan Cameron Family Foundation. Her family has contributed vast amounts of time, money, and energy into building a better Wilmington through the Cameron School of Business, the UNCW Board of Trustees, the Cameron Art Museum, and many nonprofit and volunteer organizations.
The UNCW Film Studies Department has recently announced it will for the first time be hosting Wilmington's very own Home Movie Day on October 19th in the King Hall Auditorium. Home Movie Day, created back in 2002, has become an annual international celebration to honor films shot on 8mm, 16mm, and Super 8 film formats. This celebration provides a chance for local filmmakers and community members to showcase home videos in free, open-to-the-public events. Individuals who wish to screen their films must do so on a first-come, first-served basis, and screening will begin at 1 p.m.
UNCW economist Woody Hall has predicted a 2.5% rate of growth increase in the Wilmington market for 2014. He declared at the annual Economic Outlook Conference that as long as there are no major natural disasters or terrorist attacks, and as long as the government shutdown ends soon, Wilmington should be looking good for next year. His research includes chart employment growth, tourism, real estate, and many other local factors.
UNCW students received a disappointing email on Tuesday, October 8th. In the email, the university informed the students that it will no longer be issuing the Chancellor's Achievement Award, which is a recognition given to students who maintain straight A's for a semester. The accumulation of 5 Chancellor Achievement Awards previously resulted in students receiving $500 in scholarship money toward their tuition. Now, allegedly due to the cost of this reward, the Chancellor's Achievement has been cut from UNCW's budget.
A prosecutor's witness list has been turned into a hit list by local gangs. Police said in a press conference on Tuesday that somehow last summer, a defendant who turned out to be a gang member got a hold of the witness list. Since then, several people on it have been the victims of violent crimes in the area. The police chief and sheriff made it clear that all task forces will be working together to extend patrol and protection in the community. But they are urging citizens to realize we must all work together to report incidents so that they can get gang members off of the streets.
The government may be shut down, but with the efforts of one man, the memorials of Washington, D.C. maintain their regal presentation. Chris Cox, an artist from Mount Pleasant, South Carolina, has taken it upon himself to spend his days since the government shutdown dedicated to mowing, blowing leaves, and cleaning the trash and debris from the Lincoln Memorial and the National Mall. Cox calls himself the Memorial Militia and says he is inspired to continue his efforts as long as needed to ensure war veterans and visiting tourists get a fair representation of the nation's capital. Cox says that as far as he's concerned, the monuments are not closed. He reasons that Washington, D.C. has security, veterans, tourists, and with his Memorial Militia, maintenance as well.
The federal government is still partially shut down, and the potential for a debt ceiling breach increases each day. What does this mean for you? Here are the basics. The debt ceiling is the limit Congress places on how much the federal government can borrow to keep programs like Medicare and Social Security in place. We reached that limit in May. Now they're debating whether to raise the limit or not and on what terms. If they do not raise it and the government defaults on its budget, many programs like Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security, unemployment benefits could be suspended for a few days or indefinitely if a solution is not found by Congress.
Known internationally for her bravery and activism, 16-year-old Malala Yousafzai was recently featured as a subject in a CNN article titled "The Bravest Girl in the World." The article was published October 11th, almost exactly a year after Malala woke from her coma after her terrifying ordeal with the Taliban when she was shot in the head in 2012. Growing up in the Taliban-controlled Swat Valley of Pakistan, Malala was newsworthy long before the shooting. Supported by her family and her own determination, Malala defied the Taliban's insistence that girls not attend school and further showed resistance broadcasting about the life under Taliban control through TV interviews and blogging for the BBC. After the Taliban's assassination attempt in response to Malala's activism, she continues to raise her international profile as an inspiration for courage and a symbol for fighting for the right to education. Malala, who aspires someday to bring change to her country as Prime Minister of Pakistan, published her very own memoir, I Am Malala, released October 8th.
A tunnel leading into Israel from Gaza was found 60 feet below ground last week. The Israeli military announced it discovered the mile-long tunnel and immediately stopped all building materials being transferred into the area. Tunnels like these are known to be used for smuggling and for leading attacks on communities. The Israel Prime Minister praised the security who found the tunnel and says that this is evidence that their aggressive policy against terrorism is beginning to work. Well, Seahawks, that's all we have time for this episode. Until next time, I'm Anna Phillips.
And I'm Suzuki saying so long, Seahawks.